everyone, welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. This is Melanie. Today I'm going to share with you some paper kits or page kits, if you will, that I've put together using these two paper pads. And basically the idea behind it is I go through the paper pad, pull out 3 to 4 sheets that coordinate together and keep them in a unit so that when I'm ready to scrapbook, I just flip through these, pull what I want for the photos that I want to scrapbook, and I already have coordinated papers ready to go. I find that I'm much more likely to do that than to pull out a paper pad and flip through. Plus it just takes a lot less time because I've already thought about what coordinates. My focus is on just using the single paper pad to put these together, and sometimes I end up with extra papers that I don't feel I can make any more paper kits or page kits out of them, and in that case those are going to end up in my regular loose paper or loose cardstock stash. I'm not sure if this video has gone up yet, but I did go through all my 12 by 12 cardstock and kind of I tightened the organization on it and tried to make as many page kits as I could or felt inspired to at the time. So today we're going to focus on Heart of Home by Jen Hadfield and One Big Happy Family from Paper House. I purchased both of these at Tuesday morning, so they are older collections. And really what I hope the takeaway is you kind of see how I like to combine patterns together so that I have an interesting layout. Of course, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever it is that appeals to you. I know I like watching these because I feel inspired to go and look at my stash after doing so. So let me start with Heart of Home. So you'll notice that I have an 8.5 by 11 piece of computer paper here. This is not my idea. I did get this from Janet over at RTS. She's the one who came up with the brilliant idea of just using a piece of printer paper to separate your page kits. So that's where that came from. So the first kit that I have here, I have taken 4 pieces of cardstock. So I have, this was my inspiration, which is the multi-floral. I added this pink gingham and then this blue or navy word, and then I added this one too. That is my first kit. The second one uses the same inspiration, multi-floral. I combined it with the pink diagonal and I added the wood grain. So this will more than likely end up being the base for the page, and then I have these two on here, and I will more than likely add probably some sort of white cardstock for matting and stuff, but I don't feel I need to put that in these kits per se. I will do that on a need-to basis. The next kit has this birds with nests. It has navy green and a little bit of gray in there, as well as brown from the nests. So I thought this gray piece here would work really well. And this is a pretty big print, even though it's tone on tone. So I think that works. And then I added this brown to finish the page kit. Now, one of the things I find with paper pads, and it's one of the reasons why I've decided to split them up, is that they often have the same scale of print, and I find that very hard to use. So when I put together page kits or paper kits, I like to have a variety of scale. And so usually what I try to do is I have some sort of multi-color piece. So in this case, it could either be the cut apart or it could be this piece here with the birds. And then what I like to do is I like to have some sort of, pattern paper that reads as a solid. So I consider this gray piece here as one that reads as a solid. And then another pattern that coordinates with here. Now this one also reads as a solid, less so than this one because it's got some different shades of green. But if you look at the size of this, right, to me the scale of this cluster is very similar to scale in here. I would have much preferred that this either be a bigger, so larger cluster, or even smaller, but I can still make it work because this does read more as a solid. If this was much more patterned, it would be very hard to make it work, I think, in my opinion. So I have those 3 pieces. I added another one of the square, again, as a background. And like I said before, the cut apart. For this one, I started with this floral piece. It has that gray, blue, green, white, and yellow in it. And ironically, they didn't put any yellow in this collection, which was kind of interesting. If I was so inclined, I would or could go to my stash and pull some yellow cardstock. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as is, and when I decide to use this, if I want to add yellow, I can always do that. This here is like a blue-gray on a cream or a white, and I think that looks okay, although I would have liked a little bit more contrast, and so that's why I added this black check in here just to break it up. So for instance, if I put these 2 layers of cardstock next to each other, I may do something like add a thin strip of this gingham in here just to break the patterns up a little bit. So even though this is not that bold of a pattern in the sense of color, I just think from the scale and everything else, it would help to have that dark line. I also threw in one of the green. Now this one here is a great case of scale, showing you that this, to me, this is a much bigger cluster than here, right? So this reads as a larger pattern than this one, and I think that's just much more interesting than if they were the same size. Hope that makes sense. Like I said, there's no rules. If you like the same size, go for it. I just think it's more interesting, and it's really all about what you feel comfortable using. This collection, and actually quite a few Jen Hadfield collections, have some great pieces for making cards. That's how I'm looking at a lot of these tags, and probably what I would end up using them for. So I threw them in with this daisy print again. I also added this white with the gray again, but I did throw in this pink. Now, there's no pink in this paper at all, and I normally wouldn't add that in. However, because I have the cut aparts, I threw that in because I could use this with the brown or this with the gray and make this work, if that makes sense. And then I also threw in the wood grain. So for the next page kit, I have that same cut apart as well as the 3x4 cut apart. So there's one 4x6. I threw that in with this large floral print. This is something you could fussy cut out, or in small quantities can be quite effective, or even great as a matting piece. I threw in the pink because this is such a big, bold graphic, and the pink is a nice soft color. I think that looks kind of cool, and I think I can make that work, especially using maybe some of the cut parts to tie things in. Like for instance, if I use this house, it's got a little bit of that pink in there. So I also threw in this graphic plaid. I think that's kind of interesting. This one has the 2x2 cut apart, which I combined with that large floral again. This time I added the stripe, and then I have this small floral in black. So again, here's another perfect example of scale, right? Large versus small. It's just much more interesting than if it's the same. This is large scaled as well, but because it's different colors and it's a different type of pattern that says geometric versus floral, I think it still works, or I think I still can make it work. Another one of the cut aparts, I combine that with the brown cardstock, the pink. Here's a small black and white floral, and then a large black. Now, the inspiration for this was completely this cut apart. I would not normally have combined most of these together, but I think with the cut apart, I can make something work. And if I find it's not appealing to me, let's say in 6 months from now, and I want to dismantle this, it's not a big deal. And that then brings us to whatever I had left. And I still had a few sheets left over, mostly these big trees and these alphabets. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these or what I'm going to do with it because it's not really my thing. The trees are interesting. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. I know it's the idea behind it is the family tree and stuff, but I'm not sure. So those are just going to go in my regular stash for now. Let's move on to the next pad. This paper pad has some foiling, and foiling always gets messed up with the filming, so please bear with me. This is One Big Happy Family by Paper House. It had 48 sheets, and I believe there were 3 sheets of each pattern. So the first one is this cut apart sheet. I don't know that I necessarily needed 3 of these cut aparts, but it is what it is. So I pulled this one, combined it with this very bold floral and then with this text, diagonal text, and then I threw this wood grain in as probably a background. That's how I'm seeing that. Here's another cut apart. This one focuses on Mom. I love these types of sheets here because these make great embellishments. So what I would probably do is punch these out and use them as embellishments. Anything left over, if I, for instance, pick this paper kit and have a bunch left over, I would probably add this to one of the other kits then, so that I can continue to use it. So when I put these kits away, I will keep them together so that I know that I've got a collection of them, if you will. So besides the cut apart and what I'm calling an embellishment sheet, I have the green in with the keys, and then this big bold floral. This one here says One Big Family on it, so it already has a title in. This would be super easy to just add a photo of your family with a couple of embellishments to finish it off. I added in this cut apart even though I already had it in another kit, and I just finished saying I don't know that I need 3 of them. The only reason why is it just family and family. Maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't, we'll see. I threw in the red probably for matting, and then I also tossed in this one with the birds, thinking maybe this might be a cute border possibly, or another layering piece. But I really do envision this as just having maybe a cluster of photos or a collage of photos here, and then just a little bit of journaling and embellishments. The paper pad did come with some stickers, so same deal with this. If I make a page and I have leftovers, I'll just shift this to another page kit. This one has a small floral with the red. I really like that. And then I also threw in that diagonal just to lighten it up a little bit because these are quite dark. And then I also threw in the wood grain planks because of the sticker sheet. Threw in the embellishment page with this. Here's that small floral again. I combined it with the green. And that was it. So just 3 pages in here. I'm more than likely just going to use the 2, and like I said, use this as embellishments. These are single-sided, so that is what I have to work with. There was a dad cut apart, and this was tricky because there was solid red sheets, but the red was only in the floral pieces, and I don't really think of my dad as a floral kind of guy. So I didn't include any red in this page kit, so I'm not sure how this will all end up. But I did add this stripe with the green. This was another pattern that I had a hard time matching up with anything. They didn't have a ton of paper that had this green in there, or this aqua mint color, whatever you want to call it. They did have it with the floral, but it just looked wrong, like the scale was just too wrong. But I think a little bit of that with this diagonal stripe will work, and if it doesn't, I can always put it in my stash. There was also a cut apart that deals with grandparents. Some of these are not really applicable to me because I don't have any children or grandkids, but some of these I can definitely use to document stories about my own grandparents. I threw in the red sheet for this one, as well as the diagonal words and the wood grain. And that is the end of the paper kits, and what I am left with, quite a few pieces actually, because like I said, there was 3 3 sheets of each. I don't know if I'm going to keep this one, to be honest. Like, it's pretty. Maybe a story page or something. I don't know. I have 3 sheets of it. I have a hard time getting rid of paper because I always can see something, but I don't know about that one. So a lot of the cut aparts, more of that floral, and then the diagonal stripes. That, my friends, those are the paper kits that I have made using those 2 paper pads dealing with home or family. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, happy crafting.